Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Grieco, here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are going deep, deep, deep below the briny deep to discuss Octodad, Dadliest Catch, which ironically takes place largely on land. And to do so, I am joined, as always, by Pete Busby.
Hey, excited to talk about dad stuff. Dads are important in the world generally, and even more important when those dads are octopi. Or octopuses, actually, is technically the correct plural if you go from the Greek, but neither here nor there.
And also, if you believe in the James Bond way of doing it, Octopussy is acceptable.
In honor of Octodad episode, I have a fun fact about the octopus, oddly enough. So every once in a while, I like to give a little shout out to young up-and-coming podcasts. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Radiolab. Super famous.
Finally, them getting a little shine.
Yeah, right? A little recognition for Radiolab. But they did a podcast 2 years ago in 2018, and it was called Octomom. And they found this octopus that sat on her eggs and protected it from marauding crabs without eating for 4 years. 4 years. She didn't eat and just protected these eggs. And that is the longest documented, I think brooding period would be the technical term. That's the longest documented time for an animal to protect its eggs in that way. 4 years. That's nuts.
It didn't kill any of the crabs and eat them?
Like as far as they could tell, no. But I mean, they weren't watching it all the time. But she didn't move. Didn't seem like she was eating. And like slowly her brain and body just shut down until these things finally just hatched.
And then she ate them all.
It was a very long wait, but delicious.
What if all those kids were disappointments?
They all just suck.
It just sucked.
4 years guarding your eggs, and this is how you repay me.
I think I'm gonna stay with you for a little while. I fucking guarded. My brain function was shutting down. Terrence.
Yeah, 4 years. It's
Does
crazy.
it really take 4 years for octopus eggs to hatch?
It can't possibly be all of them, because it's not. But for the most part, their lifespans are 1 to 2 years, so it couldn't be all of them. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's every one of this species or they just found a weird one. But 4 years they were watching this octopus.
You know what? I'm a little bit more perturbed by the scientists just sitting there watching. It's like, how long is this fucking mom gonna do this?
The octopus wasn't what they were looking for. They had a submersible going for something else, and they would check in with her every month when they went down.
Aww.
That's more acceptable to me. The idea that they just like watch this octopus stave off crabs. They could have built her some sort of, I don't know, defensive posture. Give her a weapon.
Leave a knife out there, see if she takes it.
Yeah.
Did they give her a name? This is important.
I don't think so. No. She was just the octopus, you know?
Just the octopus.
The octopus.
Okay, and that second voice you've been hearing is M. Palladino. Hello.
Hello. Gentlemen, today's the day. It is August 11th, which means the 5.3 update for Final Fantasy XIV has come out. I'm taking
Finally.
a break from my playing of that to record with you guys. So, the intro bunch of quests up to level 50 is much shorter, so I can with good conscience tell you it is time to play Final Fantasy XIV. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna. I hope you're ready for.
I just played an MMO Final Fantasy game.
Tough. Well, this one's better.
And ZP just picked Final Fantasy 13 too. I have to play that first.
Also unfortunate.
I have to learn the secret of, I don't know, Sarah, Snow, Noel.
The fact that it's pronounced Noel instead of Noel, the way it's spelled.
I don't know if it's Noel or Noel. I don't care.
It is Noel.
Son of a
It hurts
bitch.
me every time.
I need to learn about Caius. Well, I will get to that at some point. And you say now FF14 is an acceptable duration?
And the first 60 levels of 80 is free to play. You don't even have to spend money on all that time.
60 levels?
Yeah. They made
Sounds like
it
a lot of
so
levels.
A Realm Reborn, which is the first 50 levels, and then the first expansion, which is Heaven's Ward, those are both part of the free trial, which is significant amounts of content.
Which one of those has Y'shtola in it?
All of it.
Which one has Istinian?
Heaven's Ward, mostly.
Okay.
Are these people? Are
These
they
are
places? Okay, people. Got it.
Y'shtola is a cat lady who is really good in the Final Fantasy trading card game. Like, all of her cards are very strong, and so is Istinian, so I assume they're important.
They're alright. They're pretty good.
Minphilia. These are all the things that I know about Final Fantasy XIV.
You're gonna learn. We're gonna break it up into 4 podcasts. 1, A Realm Reborn, then Heaven's Ward, then the next one that I always forget, and then Shadowbringers.
Always a good sign.
Yeah.
The next one that I forget. You know what? I'm just gonna guess what characters' plot lines are. Our first podcast will be me just guessing what characters' plot lines are based on the card game and the mechanics.
Just guess orphan. Like, if you say orphan, you got like a 67% shot of it.
They're always orphans. That's not the part. It's like who dies, who is reborn as some sort of god, which one's a bad guy, like those sorts of things. Those I could probably guess off of the mechanics if they did a good job.
The only thing I'm confident in saying about Final Fantasy is, for the most part, relevance to the story directly correlates to sword size.
Accurate.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Sword size and number of apostrophes within your name.
Games really are art, aren't they?
They are, certainly. We live in a culture.
We live in a society.
So, just a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And let's start off with the Discord report.
The Discord report. This week on the Discord report, ZP has said that this is a message more for Billy.
Former host of the show, Billy.
Yes, but also Pete can also be informed of this.
Ooh,
ZP
lovely.
says, I've been meaning to tell you this for the better part of a year, but I actually met one of the writers behind the Talos Principle and summarized your impressions of the game and its story. They want me to say this to you, quote, tell him he's wrong, end quote. Inform Pete of this when you can.
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord that's in the Talos Principle.
I have to go back and listen to this episode now, just so I can know.
Well, if anyone missed the Talos Principle episode, the argument was basically there's a character whose name is Elohim, which is a biblical, or I guess it's in the Torah, Hebrew name for God. And there's a character whose name is Elohim, who's a big voice in the sky, who talks to you the whole time. And Billy said that actually the game's not about religion.
Uh-huh.
Just probably top 2 worst takes of Billy's, along with when he said he could beat a chimp in a fight, which I still have not forgotten.
Yep, that was... I love that he wanted to, like, come up with the parameters of the fight as though the chimp would obey them.
It's like, what's the scoring system here?
Whether you're alive at the end. If you're not alive, the chimp wins. I don't care how many points you score with jabs. If you're
what
dead
about
at
ring
the end.
control?
What is the chimp? The chimp doesn't know how to do martial arts. No, but it's got claws and fangs.
A monkey will tear your face off.
Yeah.
And not bat an eye.
No, he'll actively enjoy it.
Yeah. I've also been informed to share this meme with Pete. But finish your chimp thought.
No, I was just going to say there's all sorts of things that you're taught not to do when you're fighting because it's uncouth. Chimps never learn that.
That's true. Pete, you've also been giving this meme about communism. It says, on the top there is a picture of a mouse with cheese. It says, mice die in mousetraps because they don't understand why the cheese is free. It's the same with socialism.
convinced. I've spent a lot of time researching socialism and capitalism, but no argument has ever been more cogent than that one.
Pete, just late breaking. What's it like to be owned?
Damn.
It's bad. It hurts, but I feel like I'm a better person now. I've internalized this constructive criticism, and I'm ready to move forward.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. We do not have any other feedback or emails, and that's what's kind of going on in the Discord. So I think it's time for my obsession. And right now I'm not necessarily obsessed with anything in particular. I've been watching Sugar Rush, which I don't know if you've seen that show on Netflix.
What's
No,
that?
I don't know it.
Oh, I have seen the preview for this. It looked like I would be very hungry, and so I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it will make you a little hungry. So the premise is it's a cooking game show where you have a fixed amount of time to start, and there are 2 initial rounds. One round is cupcakes, the second round is confections, and the amount of time you spend in the first round is saved for your next round. Then in the second round, whatever time is left over at the end, if you make it to the third round, which is cakes, you get to save all of that time. That time that you banked is then added on to 3 hours to prep the cake. So you get 3 hours to start, and then you can use that 3 hours however you want in the first 2 rounds. And then anything you've saved carries over. They start with 4 teams. Once you get the first round, you eliminate a team and 1 team wins. Then the second round, again, they eliminate a team, and then the final round is just 2 teams. So you're kind of weighing the value of going quickly so that you can bank more time so that you have more time for the cake round, and then the winner at the end gets $10,000. So if you speed through the first 2 rounds, you might have a ton of time left over for cakes, but if you speed through those rounds, did you actually make a good dessert? And so there's kind of a juggling with the clock and with making a vision that is acceptable to the judges. And a new season came out called Sugar Rush Extra Sweet. And in this iteration, so it's basically season 3, they added in an additional kind of, I would say, or Iron Chef-esque element where they kind of give you a cupboard to work with, and you have to include goods from that cupboard. And if you win the rounds in the first 2 seasons, winning the rounds didn't get you anything. It just meant you didn't get eliminated. Now if you win a round, you can choose between 15 extra minutes in the final round or $1,500 up front. You just bank that. That's just yours. So yeah, it's a good show. They got Adriano Zumbo as one of the judges who's I enjoyed in Zumbo's Just Desserts, his own dessert-themed game show. And a lot of the desserts are very cool. They have good teams, and it's cool to see people get creative and make fun desserts.
Can I go on the record as anti-fondant? I don't think it tastes good, and I don't think it should be used on cakes.
You should say that because
this is fair.
This is very often a critique that the judges make. Basically, if there's a piece of fondant that's more than like a centimeter or 2 thick, they will always ding you.
Good. I support that.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, I see you made a decoration out of fondant. It's a shame it's inedible. Well, I really wish you would have made it out of something that tastes good. I support wholeheartedly. Ding everyone who uses large pieces of fondant in their cooking. So yeah, it's a good show, and it also has one of the better straight game show hosts that Netflix has employed. So I think that there's good guest judges, fun cooks, good sense of progress and pace. So give it a shot. If you want some entertaining game show-esque challenges, do that. Don't watch The Floor is Lava. Instead, watch Sugar Rush.
You don't like The Floor is Lava?
I had high hopes for The Floor is Lava. I just found it too dumb.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wanted it to be more like Nickelodeon Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Crag. Yeah.
Like Legends of the Hidden Temple-y, because you're in like this temple setting with lava, but it's a lot more Wipeout.
Did we already have this conversation?
I don't know if we had it on the podcast, but I will say I don't like when they zoom in on a person wanging their head like 6 times. I want more like fiddling around with the wall and trying to find something so that you can make a jump that you shouldn't be able to make.
I wanted Ninja Warrior and I got Wipeout.
Yeah, it definitely was never going to be with Ninja Warrior. I was hoping we need to bring back Legend of the Hidden Temple. That's a great show. We need more weird guardians jumping out of the darkness to snatch people away. All right. And did you have anything to report on FF14 or just play it?
I mean, it's free to play. until level 60, and you can level all your classes up to 60. So there's like 14 classes. You could spend probably like 600 hours in there before you actually have to pay anything. So
What system are we talking here?
PC, PS4, I think that's it.
Okay, well, I want this.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, when we do this,
Yeah.
you want to make a cat lady or something and join us?
No, I don't.
You could be a cat boy, unlike Final Fantasy 11.
You could be a large man.
That's not the stumbling block. It's not the character creator options.
You could be a gunbreaker. That's a job.
Nope, not in the free trial.
Really?
Just break guns.
Starts at 70.
Gunbreakers. It's like a squall from Final Fantasy VIII. You got a
Okay.
gun blade.
Oh, got it. Okay. So I'm doing gun kata.
Yes.
Can be a samurai. I'm a samurai.
Okay, I can look into that again. I can reproduce my FF11 character. Can I be a red mage samurai?
You could be a red mage and a samurai, but not at the same time.
Fuck that. This game's garbage. Okay, Pete, you don't need to join us.
That's fine. Tell me the next time they reduce the tactics game. I'll circle back.
Okay. All right, so let's discuss Octodad Dadliest Catch. Pete, what's an Octodad?
Ooh, I mean, it's all there in the name, in that elegant portmanteau. It's an octopus. You're an octopus, and you're trying to impersonate, I guess. You're living your life as a human dad of a family of 4. And you sort of have to navigate the world to make sure nobody finds out you're actually an octopus.
Yes. The game starts on your wedding day. Actually, no, it starts with a rippin' song about Octodad, which is
Pretty
just
good song. It's a bop. Yeah, it's not bad.
It's a total bop, and then you start on Octodad's wedding day, and you kind of get used to the controls. How would you describe the controls, Em?
So the controls of Octodad are basically you have on the PC, which I played it on, your left mouse and right mouse each control one of your arms, and then you can adjust the height of your arms by like the scroll wheel, and then there's a way that you switch to your feet. I believe it's pressing space. So and then the controls are the same for your feet as they are for your arms, left mouse and right mouse depending on left and right. And the way you move around is basically by slowly pressing one of your feet forward, and then you do your other foot, and then sometimes you can pick stuff up that sticks to your hand a little bit because you got suction cups. It's very strange controls. It's very, what was that game where you were a runner and you had to push Quap? Quap, yeah. Actually, there's a poster that references Quap. I believe it was in the supermarket level.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of little background things you can notice like that, but they know where they're coming from. Yeah, that's the whole controls.
I would say much of the challenge of the game is fighting with the controls.
Yep.
The levels themselves are not especially difficult. The objectives are not hard to discern. There aren't really that challenging of puzzles. It's largely fighting with the fact that you're click dragging your legs one at a time and then trying to finagle your arm because you can only stretch so far. So you need to be able to get close enough to things. Sometimes you have to walk on narrow surfaces. Sometimes things are moving and you have to move fairly quickly to make progress. So you're not like on a moving platform that's moving faster than you can control your character. Anytime that the game asks you to do precision, I found it to be quite challenging. Anytime that the game just asks you to do something kind of zany, it was fairly easy. I only got really stuck in a few spots. How did you find controlling Octodad in the kind of a dichotomy between fun and frustrating? Where did we land?
Well, I generally thought it was pretty frustrating, but I was weirdly sort of tickled by the way it tracks actual octopus physiology, kind of. So like, let me just go on record. I love octopuses. I think they're some of the coolest animals around. But one of the interesting things about them is their nervous system. So it's distributed such that something like 2/3 maybe of their nerves are in their arms, and then each one can act independently. Basically, this is a dumb way to put it, but basically each arm has its own brain, if we want to be sort of oversimplistic about the whole thing. So I don't think that was necessarily their intention, but it is, slightly anatomically accurate at least.
Yeah. And I did enjoy that the game does not necessarily care about your accuracy of reproducing human movement. As long as you're not running into people or causing wanton destruction to the environment, people will largely just say, okay, that guy's a guy, I guess. So most of the frustration comes from just not being able to navigate the environment, not necessarily because the game is dinging you for not moving properly. So were there any moments that you found especially challenging or especially frustrating?
There was the last part, basically. Do we want to spoil everything?
We will eventually spoil everything, but
It's
been out for a long time.
Story. Yeah.
So the last bit where you are trying to maneuver over fire and there's like these beams that keep falling, I was barely able to do that. That was probably the hardest part, but it was also like the last level. Pretty much made sense.
I hate escalators.
Yes.
Oh my god, that part was terrible.
That was the other one.
There's a section where you have to go up a down escalator.
Which is a tool move generally, like just to do in the world.
I did especially appreciate that your daughter will not go up the down escalator. She's like, that's rude. You shouldn't go up the down escalator. Daddy, you gotta do it. I won't break the rules.
But I'll make you break the rules.
Yes. So what did we think of the game's actual, setup of the family? You start on the wedding day, you get married at some sort of Cthulhu. The game basically makes a joke of what denomination is the church that you're getting married in. But you get married and then it just kind of smash cuts forward to you having 2 kids and a wife and trying to get up to get ready for work in the morning.
My largest question is, I mean, not to be puerile, but where did these kids come from? Which the game, I've never sought it out, but I've seen my fair share of hentai. So, I mean, I get basically how it works. But the game does address it at the very end. The son asks, he's like, well, if he's an octopus, where did I come from? And then immediate smash cut to the credits.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
great.
the answer I wanted.
Everyone laughs, and then he's like, no, seriously. And then the credits.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the less that's said about that, the better. I like that they leave you to fill it in. I wouldn't have minded if mom was just like, we fucked.
Well, honey, when a octopus and a woman really love each
other very much, they smash that subscribe button, and then there's kids. Yeah, so I like that. I liked that just the premise that the wife does not have any idea that this octopus is an octopus for years is great. I love all the little things that the mom says, like, hey, honey, I know that the basement's your special room, but I'm smelling, the ocean coming from it? What's going on with the basement? The octopus is like, okay, honey, I won't ask again.
The octopus doesn't talk, by the way. He just makes blah, 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 blah. And then the subtitles are accusatory blubbling and stuff like that.
And everyone just goes along with it. You make yourself coffee, and it's like, yeah, you have coffee with, is it brine or something? It's coffee with something foul, like tartar sauce.
Yeah.
And
you wouldn't have tartar sauce with octopus anyway, would you?
I don't think so. But everyone's like, honey, you zany one.
Mm-hmm.
You like tartar sauce in your coffee. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's very sort of like sitcom dad. In the same way that dads in sitcoms are sort of goofy and don't really know what's going on, but there's something vaguely sinister about it because he's not just a goofy dad, he's an octopus that's sort of tricked his family, I guess. Maybe I'm making it more sinister than it needs to be.
See, I took it as inspirational. I took it as love transcends any and all boundaries. You see, this octopus loves this woman who's also, I guess, an oceanic rights activist, something unclear. And he's gonna do what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm. I think she's a reporter. Like, I think that was she was working on a story or something when they met. And then she mentions, like, oh, I'm working on this story for blah, 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 blah. I think that's it.
The story is about, like, aquatic rights in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's an investigative journalist on
stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first level, just trying to go through an ordinary day as this octopus dad. And the mom's like, hey, the kids really wanted to go to the aquarium. And the octopus blurbles, and she's like, yeah, I know you say that they're dens of inequality, but they really want to go. You have to make them a hamburger and do the weeds. Do you think that this family assumes that their dad is a drunk?
That's a good question. I mean, like, biological implausibility aside, he's a pretty good dad. He takes care of the kids.
Great dad. He made them burgers. He fetched a ball from a tree. And then at the end of the first level, you get attacked by some sort of chef who's like a zany bad guy. He's like, I know you're an octopus.
Deranged sushi chef. Does that play in 2020?
It's not a racist caricature, so I think it's fine, but...
I mean, he's not stereotype. I don't know what stereotype they're going for, and because I don't know what stereotype they're going for, I'm less offended by it. It's not that I don't think that they're going for a stereotype, I just don't know which one it is.
Yeah, it's not like, look, obviously it's not at the level of, like, Breakfast at Tiffany's Yellowface.
Yeah, it's not Lo Wang from...
No.
What is that name of that game? There's a very terrible original Xbox game that's just super racist.
What was the really racist one we played?
Oh, Jade Empire.
Jade Empire, right? Yeah, it's not Jade Empire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it plays well enough. I found that the chef was probably my least favorite part. I just wanted to see this octopus trying to maintain his chill with this family, like when you need to. The mom constantly asking questions that the octopus clearly can't answer. I enjoyed going to the supermarket to pick up the kids' food and having to go through all the aisles.
And steal that poor woman's cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually, I appreciated that the most. Like the idea that this dad is just trying to get his son, who loves Action Johnson, his Action Johnson flakes, and there's one left, and the only thing to be done is to steal it out of this woman's cart. It was the most relatable that he got.
Let me ask too, I mean, just while we're discussing things, how accurate of a portrayal do you think it is of being an octopus? Like, how close do you think this is to the experience of, like, how an octopus interacts with the world?
Is the octopus trying to be a father, or is it just an octopus?
We'll say if you took a real octopus and put him in this situation. So I guess, yes, he's trying to be a father. How accurate do you think this would be? Let me rephrase the question. Do you think you are now more in touch with an octopus in virtue of playing this game?
I was already very down with octopi, so I don't know if I can get more in touch with them, but I do feel more empathy for the octopus than I did before. I think that if there's one reason I would say that this is not an accurate depiction of how an octopus would handle these situations, it's that it's standing on two legs, and I don't think an octopus could do that. And I don't think an octopus would be restricted to moving one leg or one limb at a time. I've seen them move. They each move independently.
That's probably true.
An octopus would be able to do stairs and escalators better than I could.
It's true. Not only so, like, there's a recent book came out, not that recent, maybe it was a few years ago, called Alien Phenomenology. Phenomenology is basically just like what it's like to be a thing. So you could have like rock phenomenology, you could have bird phenomenology. Just like what would it be like to exist as that thing? And one of the premises of the book came from a very famous philosophy article called What It's Like to Be a Bat. And his argument was basically, look, we can't imagine what it's like to be a bat. We can only imagine what it's like to be a person pretending to be a bat. You know what I mean? So if you took person conscious and put it into a bat, We can only get that far in our imagination. So Octopus Dad made me think, well, what if we went in the other direction? Instead of asking what would it be like for a person to be a bat, could we ask would it be like for an octopus to be a person? Or is there still some gap in our imagination such that we can't fill that? I guess. You with me? Phenomenology's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely makes the analogy work. The idea of, well, what would it be like for an octopus to be a person instead of the other way around? And then coming up with a control scheme based on it. And actually, the history of this game is pretty interesting. Octodad was originally created as there's a freeware version of Octodad that you can play online that was designed as a graduate project for a game design school. And some of the devs that worked on that went on to form the studio that created Octodad. And soon to create Bug Snacks.
Bug Snacks. But do you feel like, I don't feel necessarily closer to, like, living the experience of an octopus, necessarily.
Are we now at a third level of, like, we are a person pretending to be an octopus, pretending to be a person?
We just, like, recurse it the whole way down.
Yeah. We've just contrived it some more.
I mean, by necessity, that has to be the case. Though I think that at least imagining how I would act as some forms of life, I find easier than others, like empathizing with a bat. Basically anything whose musculature and skeletal structure is fairly similar to a person, I find imagining being that to be fairly easy. And, the further away from human anatomy you get, the harder it is for me to imagine how life in a different animal's skin would be. So like imagining a cat or imagining a bat, those I think make a lot of sense to me. Even like a snake makes a lot of sense how I would be able to move in that skin. Octopus is something that's so foreign, I don't even know how I would necessarily understand it. Like their brain structure is so different, their anatomy is so different. It just reminds me of in evolutionary terms, evolutionary study, there is a term for all the different embryos of animals kind of sharing these different stages that you can see, like a chicken embryo and a lizard embryo and a human embryo early on in development all look very similar, and then they eventually start to change after a few cycles of development. And so I feel like any of the lines of life that I can see, like the further down that chain they get towards where humans ended up, the easier it is for me to imagine how they function or how I would function if given controls of that sort of animal. But octopus, I don't even know if they have the same developmental structure as the other animals.
I doubt it. I mean, octopi are popular in like alien theories. Like when people start to think, okay, what would an extraterrestrial non-human intelligence be like? One of the starting points is often the octopus, just because exactly what you described, it's so different, and yet they're super smart. They're probably like the smartest. They're definitely the smartest invertebrates. They're like, I don't know, like a not that smart dolphin.
There are all kinds of stories about octopuses, like learning the rotation of scientists studying them so they can slip out of their tank, go into another tank, get some anchovies, eat them, come back before the, guard comes back. So, they're...
And you have to do that in this game.
Pretty
Kinda.
much. So, something's up with octopi. They're all brain, they don't have any bones, they're just a brain and tentacles.
No, they can fit through any hole that's big enough for their beak to get through.
Yeah.
And their beak's not that big.
And I had to do that to get those waffles.
You're such a good dad.
Yeah, the only thing that I found unbelievable about Octodad was that he didn't seem as smart as I felt he should be.
No, he was a little dim-witted. That goes back to my suburban dad point, which it made me think of another point. Would this game work gender swapped? So, I don't know if you could have Octomom, just because I don't think it taps into that sort of sitcom tropey history of, bumbling fathers. You know what I mean?
How dare you set me up for this joke with Octomom? How dare you? We already know what Octomom would be like.
Yeah, there you
Monster.
go. Very nice. That's what our listeners come for.
Yeah, how dare you? I don't know I think it would work gender swapped. I just don't know that it's I don't know. The bumbling dad, I think, works really well for how they set it up. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the mom just being like, "Oh, your mustache is getting a little long, hon. Guess we're gonna need to trim it again." And then Octodad's like, and it's just clearly two tentacles dangling off his face, with the implication that he's been getting sheared over the years, over and over and over again.
It's fine because he could grow back the tentacle, but you also lose the dadliest catch pun, which, I mean, why even have the game if you're not going to have that?
True. So were there any moments of familial bonding that really worked for you? Like, once you get past the first two levels, then you end up in the aquarium and you're kind of split up into sections with each of the family members. Did any especially resonate with you?
I liked all the little family moments in the aquarium. Like, your daughter is scared of the dark, so you have to kind of lead her through by shaking a handheld light. I don't know, it was just kind of, like, sweet to see that. Like, and all the kids' dialogue is really good. Weirdly good when they're kind of just, like, son, daughter. They're not really there to, serve any major narrative purpose. But they each had, like, their own little personality. Like, your son is really into, sports.
Action Johnson.
Yeah.
Sports Johnson.
And so, all the while you're doing his, like, side thing, he's like, "Oh, this is just like Sports Johnson number whatever." That was cute. I was into those.
Dad, could you throw a baseball as hard as Sports Johnson?
I did like the part with the mother, the wife, because she's getting all suspicious, so his response is, "Oh, I better win her a stuffed animal." Apparently there's a county fair in the middle of the aquarium, which, I mean, let's not poke too many holes in this, I guess.
I mean, you're getting tickets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're getting prizes. But the mom's just like, "You keep disappearing, and there's always leaking. The basement's always flooded, honey. What's up with that? And you never answer my questions, and you don't talk in sentences."
Just sort of burbles and gurgles.
It's really weird, hon. That whole time I tried, like, just stopping and trying to talk to her or like do anything, and the game doesn't let you. You can't. You can't try to engage with your wife and have an open dialogue about your situation.
Did y'all ever fail? Like, reveal yourself?
I had a few failures, like, on that part particularly, because it was just like, one of the tanks starts to crack, and so you have to, like, shove, like, these little squishy toys into the holes, and it's really fast, and the controls are still kind of weird at that point, and so that was tough. I got a few losses there.
What happens when you fail? Are you revealed as an octopus? Or is it just like, say, fail, like it's Tony Hawk or something?
Yeah, it's just kind of like that. It's not like,
okay,
the cops rush in and take you away.
Take your kids away, throw you in the tank.
Jail.
Man, that would be way more savage if you were outed as an octopus.
Yeah, that'd be rough. Which you kind of are by the end of it. And then your wife is just like, "That doesn't sound true."
And your daughter's like, "Yeah, Dad's an octopus. Are you people didn't realize this?
What are you, high?
You didn't know?
Idiots.
How am I the youngest one?"
Look at him. That was funny. That was like, I was hoping that one of them would be like, Dad's an octopus, right? And then it gave it to me.
Or like they find out, but they just don't tell him. They're like, "Look, it'll really crush your dad if he finds out. Like, we all knew the whole time. Like, just pretend he's a person."
We keep cutting off his tentacles just to maintain the illusion. Just let him have this. Yeah, in some ways, I think that this game is surprisingly poignant for how it plays this thing straight. That this dad has this secret that he's hiding from his family. And it's this tension, this unspoken tension that's in every moment that you're acting as this dad, that you're trying to keep under wraps. Some truth about yourself that you think if you reveal will completely undo your entire life. And you're bending over backwards to make sure that this thing doesn't come out. And it is, reductio ad absurdum. It's just completely ridiculous. But I think that by making it a kind of comedic joke and then so ridiculous, it kind of makes it more universalized in a way, because it's something that's so it takes your defenses down. You have no preconceptions about this family and its structure and the main character. And it's a weird metaphor. Like, this metaphor could be used for almost anything, any hidden secret in a family. Though, I mean, I think that there are metaphors that ring more true than others. And so I think that it really makes this game work. That this dad is just trying to live his life, and he thinks the secret's a big problem, but at the end of the day, his family is just entirely accepting of it.
It is really touching. I think you were sort of making this point, Gino, but just to maybe reiterate, is that it does help that there's really no moral valence to being an octopus. Like, there are sorts of secrets that, for good or ill, almost universally for ill, people attach a certain moral significance to. Whereas being an octopus can be mapped onto so many things, like you said, because it doesn't have, nobody has an inherent position on an octopus pretending to be a person, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's no moral judgment on being a closeted octopus.
Exactly.
And so seeing how this octopus is doing all of these things, like the one level where you get to just live as an octopus, I think is pretty interesting. And like, it actually controls pretty poorly. Like, it's a very different control scheme when you're an octopus, but seeing him move freely and able to just kind of move through the world in a normal fashion instead of this jerry-rigged way that he moves ordinarily, I think is kind of interesting. And then seeing kind of the level where he becomes Octodad, where he's just like ends up on a boat and then sneaks past a bunch of dumb sailors and eventually like tricks them into letting him on the ship and becoming the captain of a ship.
Yeah, the captain. He runs the ship.
Yeah. To that point, did you catch that there was like implications? There was a war with octopuses
With fish.
in that
Yeah.
level? Yeah, there was like a fish war. Was that wasn't subtext, right? That was like, we actually had a war with fish.
Yeah, the mom was like an investigative journalist who was covering the fish wars or something. It was very unclear to me what happened, what the actual context of the fish wars, what were the stakes of the fish wars.
How did the fish organize?
Why did we go to war with the fish?
It felt a lot like post Umarangi generation.
Yeah.
There were some
The jellyfish for us.
Interesting companion piece to Umaragi generation, Octodad.
Maybe it's just because I was thinking about it because we just played it.
Maybe they thought the stakes weren't high enough just for like an octopus posing as a dad. Maybe they wanted like a Romeo and Juliet forbidden love sort of deal too. They each came from opposite sides of the war.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why the sushi chef will not just let things go, because he served in the war.
The fish killed his brother.
He lost a lot of good men to those fish. And this fish isn't going to be allowed to just blend in with humans. Yeah, so that's kind of Octodad. I think that it leaves you on a cliffhanger. Where did those kids come from? Leaves you wanting more. Always leave them wanting more. And is there anything else we want to go over with Octodad? I mean, I found it surprisingly touching. I found that the comedy holds up for the most part. The control scheme's frustrating in spots, but it's a game worth playing still.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight hour, maybe longer depending on how soon you adjust the controls.
Yeah, like 1 to 3 hours tops.
2 or 3, I think, was mine. Did you put any thought into collecting the ties and such?
What ties?
Yeah, I didn't even know there were ties.
There were ties you could collect, like any game of this generation. There's some collectible ties you can run around and pick up. Doesn't actually do anything. You get an achievement in Steam just to gamify it a little bit more if you really want to go out of your way. I found a few by accident, but I didn't try to find them. I did find one secret level. I don't know if you guys came across it.
I don't think
You found the toilet level?
there's a
Yeah, the
toilet level? What do you go
Yeah.
into the toilet?
When you are going into the aquarium, you can flush yourself down the toilet, and it's kind of like a backlit, like a puzzle thing, and then at the end of that you get 3 ties,
Oh, I know.
which only matter if you're collecting ties.
Oh man, I didn't know there was a toilet level. It never
Yeah.
occurred to me to flush myself.
One of the scientists who I like that there are scientists, and it's just implied. These scientists, they're marine biologists. They can detect octopi on sight,
They know.
unlike other people who can't tell octopi on sight. They're really good scientists.
You're not gonna fool them anytime soon.
One of them says, "Hey, while you're in the bathroom, there's a toilet that's clogged, and if you stand in that toilet and flush yourself, you go to a secret level."
Mhm.
One more octopus fact.
Hell yeah.
Technically, octopuses. I always want to say octopi. Octopuses don't have tentacles. They have arms.
Oh.
The difference is tentacles only have suction cups at the end, and octopus arms have them the whole length. Typically about 240 suckers per arm.
That's a lot of suckers.
Hell yeah, it is. And they can also open and close independently. Each one.
Wow. That level of precision and control.
I'm telling you. They're great. Great animals.
Octodad 2, where you control every single suction cup on your octopus arm.
The scroll wheel picks which one.
No. This just makes me sad that they end up losing the war in Splatoon to the squidlings, to the
Is
inklings.
that what happens in Splatoon? I've never played Splatoon.
Oh yeah, it gets
Yeah.
dark. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, do you not know? So in Splatoon, well, first off, it's in the post-apocalypse. Humans are dead because the world is covered in water. Sea life evolved to seize the land and seize the world, and octolings, octopuses, came into conflict with squidlings or inklings, and the reason why the inklings ended up winning and their society thrived was that they had a 9th tentacle.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I could see how that would be an advantage.
Huh.
Octopi have 8 arms, and inklings had 9, and that was it.
Okay. Splatoon goes deep.
We're a bunch of chumps with only 2. How'd we ever become the dominant species?
It's great when you can actually find a human fossil in Splatoon, and you just make fun of it. It's great.
Where are all the other arms?
Well, there's where all the other arms. It's like, we believe that these people cram themselves into buildings doing work and playing video games, not realizing that the waters were rising, slowly killing them.
Yeah, checks out. Accurate.
So yeah, Octodad, good game. Splatoon, also a great game. Maybe you should check it out if you haven't. So with that, I believe that leaves us with another one of your picks, Pete.
Yeah, I'm back around, and this time I'm going to dip into the canon, so to speak. One of those games that's up in the pantheon, but that I have never played. So for next week, I want to play Grim Fandango.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah. I've played this game and it's very good.
So I hear. I finally want to cross it off.
There's a remake. There's a few remakes, I think. Does it matter which one we play?
Just
Nah,
the remaster, any of the remasters, they all play the same. The remasters don't they add some quality of life improvements, and I think there might be developer commentary that you can turn on. But whichever system you can play, the remaster's just easier to get. Like getting an old PC game's tough.
I was just going to go through Steam. That's the remastered version.
Yeah, all of the modern console ones are the remaster. But yeah, one of the greatest adventure games ever made, Grim Fandango. Though I recommend, if you get stuck, please use a guide, because this is back in the day of rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle.
Classic.
It's not quite Maniac Mansion in terms of the absurdity of the combination of items, but it's not that far off either. All right. So I think that does it for Octodad. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can do so at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show, patreon.com/deeplistens. Get access to our Discord. Thank you, Pete.
Yep. I love to talk about octopuses. We should probably just do an offshoot podcast to it.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Em.
I'm not sure how much input I would have on octopuses. I will enjoy some calamari, though. Hook that up.
How dare you?
It's tasty.
You monster.
Put a little lemon on it.
Ugh. Thank you, listeners. Till next time, peace.